I think we should be good. All right. I hope, yeah. Okay. It says learn more in green. Perfect. So I think it is recording and we can kind of I'll clip kind of this portion up leading up to this part. So how's everybody doing today?
Doing
Doing
good.
well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining. I know there's going to be, we've done this series a while ago. We used to do a lot of these webinars and, hopefully in the future we'll do a bunch more. But we know that there's going to be a lot of people listening while they're on the job today, both on the Facebook group and then eventually when this is sent out later on email, and then they'll listen to it either later tonight or maybe over the weekend. So just wanted to say thank you all for your time, and this is a really exciting topic. Kevin and I were talking about this a couple weeks ago, and I started thinking about, like, as a business owner, we always like to think about, how to grow our business and kind of from our perspective, like what's going on day to day, how we're kind of running the operation, how could we be more efficient, how could we do all these things. Sometimes it's basically required all the time, but a lot of the times we forget to kind of revisit what does it look like from the other side, right? What does it look like from our customers' side, and what does their journey look like in order to ultimately arrive at a decision of who they get to hire for their house cleaning or their office cleaning services. So for today's call, that's kind of what we want to go over, is the customer journey and kind of understanding and getting in their mindset of, how does this work when they're kind of in the beginning stages, all the way till when they actually decide to contact you and get a booking for you to come over. So with that being said, I actually have a screen sharing session. This is going to be open, so for anybody on the call, if you feel questions, feel free to jump in, and ask away. So let me share. All right. Let me know when you see my screen.
Got it, Dan.
Right, perfect. So, the highlight of this series is called "Why Are They Hiring Your Competitor?" And we're trying to understand the customer journey. So in this particular case, we're not doing with commercial clients, we're dealing with residential. So ultimately it boils down to the homeowner and kind of getting in the homeowner's mindset. Couple of things that we'll go over today for the agenda is we'll go over the overview of the journey. We'll start with Facebook, right? And kind of understanding how people are finding you on Facebook. We'll go over the Google path as well. And then we'll get into what we call like the research side of things, right? Where we're looking at signals online, homeowner, and we'll jump into pain points. At the very end of this, we'll show you what a possible solution looks like for that problem, and then we'll get into the questions and answers. But I will say you can chime in freely as we're going through this. Again, it's meant to be very casual, conversational, and we're just kind of it's almost like we're all sitting around a bonfire, just having a chat around what does this look like for my customers and how do they find my business.
Sounds good.
So for those out there, I'm sure some of you have heard of something called a market. We just add this person in, perfect. And so I guess real quick, either by show of hands or just say, yeah, I'm familiar with that. Are you familiar with marketing funnel and what this actually means? Have you heard this term? Okay, so kind of a mix. It seems like a split. So marketing funnel is basically where people start in their journey, and this is applicable for all businesses, right? So people that are unaware of your business ultimately need to be brought to us, right? So that's the top of the funnel where everybody kind of comes in. And as you can see in the diagram, there's a lot of different channels that you could use. You could use email marketing. You could have SEO with, let's say, blogging, online directories like Yelp, and Nextdoor and Yellow Pages, Google Maps, right? These are all online directories. Side note on, if you're not on Yelp, if you're not on Yellow Pages, even though a lot of people think Yellow Pages is kind of like an old school thing, even believe it or not, MapQuest, being registered and having your business profile on there automatically boosts you on Google. So just a little side note tip for anybody out there, I would definitely look up a lot of the directories, online directories. And yes, Facebook and all the social media accounts, of course, you want to have profiles for those, as well as your Google business profile. But you do definitely want to have some of these other second tier, third tier players, because Google actually judges you based on how many online directories you're registered with. And one other important note on that, make sure they call it the NAP. So your name of your business, your address, and your phone number are all aligned across those directories. If there's any sort of missing items, let's say if you put ABC Cleaning LLC on Google, but then you didn't put the LLC on Yelp, right? That's showing an inconsistency across the directories. You do not want that. So make sure that all of your name, address, and phone number are all the same. So if you've had a phone number change, let's say if you went from a home office to an actual office and you had an address change, you want to make sure to update all of those directories, because actually in the reverse of that, where it could help you being on those directories, if the consistency is off, you will actually get demoted on Google. So just make sure that those three things are all kind of working together.
Yeah, and I just wanted to, and if you haven't done this already, what Dan's explaining, it will significantly boost your ranking on Google. In fact, there are, and gosh, I wish I could remember names right now. I don't. I've used these services before, but there are services out there, you can find them on Google, and they're not very expensive. If a couple bucks, and what they'll do is they'll collect your information, what Dan was just saying, name, address, all that stuff, and then they will register you with, for $30 they'll register you with 20 of these things. For $100 they'll do all of them, and so it's worth $100 bill, in my opinion, or a $50 bill, to go in there and just pay a company to instantly get you registered in all these directories. It'll help you significantly.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. So if you Google search like local service business citations or local service
Yeah.
online directories, you'll find all those companies that Kevin's mentioning. So make sure if you're watching the recording, go back to this part and just kind of keyword search that on Google.
Yeah.
You should be able to pull up, your top 3 players in that space. So with that being said, obviously you've got a number of different areas of different channels that are coming from the top, and that's your awareness phase. So these are people that are just becoming aware of your service or of your business, right? From the awareness stage, once people kind of do their due diligence and their research and their background, they're now starting to, what they're doing is they're evaluating you, right? So something I always tell a lot of our clients with PixPixel, I've met with hundreds of cleaning business owners over the years, and one of the things we always dive into is how intimate this is, right? Your service, you guys are in people's master bedrooms, you're in their master bathroom, you're throughout all of their home, right? So it's a very, from my perspective, if I'm looking at this as a homeowner, I need trust, right? Like I need to trust you in order to have you come into my home and into my intimate spaces, and not worry or be concerned that there's somebody in my house that I've never met before, right? So this evaluation stage is really key. We're going to dive really deep into this today on this call. And then ultimately there's the engagement phase. This is when they're on your website, if you have a live chat, or maybe they're having some sort of conversation with you over the phone. And then ultimately the conversion, right? That's when they decide, hey, you know what? We're going to hire you. You're going to do the job for us. And ultimately they convert into a customer. So let's dive into the journey a little bit. I'm just going to add another person in here. Just make sure she got added. Okay. So we're diving into the overall journey at this point, and we're going to talk about the different paths, because some people, it might be very quick to the point. They have a short list of people they want to call, and they call those people and they get a couple of quotes and they make their decision, right? So that's a very kind of starting point, ending point right away. But most of the time, people are going through different pathways or different branches. And this involves going to things like Facebook, Google, asking friends and family, right, for referrals and recommendations. And even after those recommendations, you would think, okay, well, they're just going to select the person that one of their neighbors or one of their family members, said that they do a great job, the quality is great. No, a lot of people still do the research and due diligence behind that. And all of that revolves around your online presence, right? So that means that they're checking out your Facebook page, maybe your Instagram. They're definitely going to Google, Googling you, looking up the reviews. They're checking to see if you have a website, right? And I'll get into this a little further, some of the signals and what this means for different people at different moments within their journey. You basically have to check a few boxes, right, in order to get that person to ultimately engage with you and then eventually convert them into a customer. And then the end result obviously is they either make a decision or, they either hire you or they don't, right? Or they defer the decision later. Maybe they decide they don't want to have somebody cleaning the house right now, or they just don't have the time for the research. So let's talk about on the homeowner side, what are some of the triggers and what are their ultimate goals? So some of the common triggers that they have is they're hosting people at their house. They have some sort of event, right? It might be Christmas time, or there's something going on. They might do a seasonal, deep clean where they do it every quarter, and just they want to have a certain type of cadence of how they get their house cleaned. Maybe they're moving, right? These are life events that happen, or they're having a new baby. They're clearing out an extra room in the house, and they just want to kind of get everything organized. And then ultimately that leads to a goal, right? Which is, their goals are they want something that's going to be fairly priced. As I mentioned before, they want to be able to trust the person because you're in their house. They want to make sure that everything's done in a timely fashion and reliable. You're showing up when you say you're going to show up. And then ultimately the quality matches what their expectation was. So if you want to hear how a good or bad review goes, it's you setting the standard of the quality being this high, but the reality was not matching the expectation, right? That equals a bad review, right? Where if you're setting that expectation and the quality is basically beating that expectation in reality, that's when you're going to get your 5-star reviews. Now, obviously, things come up in life on the homeowner side, and they have constraints, right? So this could be budget constraints. Maybe they just can't afford the service, or your pricing doesn't align with what their budget was. I'm gonna give a shout out to what is the one Kevin that does a $19 clean thing. What are they?
Oh gosh, I haven't thought of them in a long time, but y'all seen those Facebook ads. Leona knows what I'm talking about.
I know people don't give
Super
negative.
Glow, or I don't know.
Yeah, Homoglow. Homoglow.
Yeah. There's a lot of them now. There's more than just one now. Everyone's doing it.
We're giving a negative shout out. I don't usually do those, but it's like, thank you, Homoglow, for reestablishing what people think is a real price point, but it's not.
Right.
But yeah, budget constraints, obviously. And I do this with our customers too, right? Sometimes we offer services that are custom services, and it just might not be within the price range, right? And so that's okay. People sometimes will have to go for, let's say, a lower quality service, and then ultimately that kind of resets expectations of what the quality looks like and how much they should pay. So they end up coming back anyways, over time. And then you have other constraints, things like pets, kids. Maybe you don't have, timing wise, if it's, let's say, an event, right? You might not have access to the house. Maybe it's a remote, Airbnb property. And then ultimately, the scope might be a little off as far as what they're expecting to be done versus what can be done. And so these are things that the homeowners are thinking about when it comes to what kind of process, right? Like what triggers them to say, you know what, I need to hire somebody for this. And then what are some of their goals that they're trying to accomplish? And then what are some of the limitations of why they end up not hiring you? So some things to think about there. We're going to dive into the Facebook path. I would say, and I'm just going to throw this out to the group, what percentage of your business comes from Facebook? Do you think? Is it above 50%? Is it above 80%?
75% for me, for sure.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
So Facebook's an interesting one. A lot of people find you through groups, right? So what ends up happening, I'll use a use case of my wife and me as an example, right? So her and I are talking about having somebody come over and do a routine clean with the house. The first place my wife is going to go to is the neighborhood group, right? So they go very local, hyper local. There's arguments to be made about having neighbors as recommendations because some people don't want other people knowing about what's in their house. Um, and then a lot of people go to like the local groups, they'll go to mom groups and things like that. And so ultimately, in step one here, you've got people going to community groups that they're asking for recommendations. You know, is there a professional cleaning company out there, you know, that you guys trust? And then you get a lot of people coming up with those recommendations in step two, right? Um, Most of the time, they end up tagging the business owner or they end up tagging the more likely the Facebook business page. And what happens then is really interesting. And this is something as business owners we have to be very aware of, is this is when that whole process starts of like evaluation, right? Is right at this moment because we got the recommendation, we have a need, right? The triggers happened, we have a goal and we have a need, right? As a homeowner. Now we're asking for people that we trust to say that I trust this person, right? And so now I take it upon myself that I'm going to start going to your profile, right? Your Facebook. And so when they're tagging those Facebook business profiles, I go to click on that. And so what they're looking for, and it does sound silly, kind of is a little bit, but if they go to your Facebook business page and it looks inactive, it signals to the homeowner that this is an inactive business. So it's really key that you have some level of consistency, even if you're only able to do it once a week or twice a week, that you're able to post. It's not necessarily for going viral or anything like that, but it's mostly because you need to stay relevant and visible, and it actually provides a checked off box of social proof that homeowners are looking for. They're looking for brand consistency. They're looking for someone who has, let's say, before and after pictures and things like that so they can see the quality of the work. These are all important things that ultimately get you added to what we call a short list. And these are the people that you're going to ultimately hire for getting the job. On the other side, you could be completely discarded from the conversation, right? Just based on someone going to the Facebook group, tagging you, and then going to your Facebook business page, and things just don't look very active. Right.
Or Dan, it could be your Facebook personal profile. If you're both in a private group and someone says, "Hey, I know, Kevin, he's a house cleaner and he does a great job," and they tag me. Well, now they're going to be on my personal profile, and depending on what they see on my personal profile, could also impact their decision on whether they hire my company or not.
Yeah. So I think that this, and this is like the whole essence. Actually, there's a lot more to this presentation, but it was just a really big topic that comes to mind that I feel like it's a perception versus reality issue, right? Just because you don't have a lot of posts or your quality of your posts are not great doesn't mean your quality of work isn't great, right? So just to be clear, you can have the most amazing, staff and you could do the most amazing work. Unfortunately, you might not even get the opportunity, right? Because of the online presence part kind of lacking. And I know it's hard because a lot of us, and we have a lot of solo cleaners as clients, or clients that have less than 3 or less than 5 employees. It's hard to manage everything, and remember to post stuff online. Part of what we'll go over later is kind of what we do and how we can help with that. But it is a challenge. Like you have a lot of hats that y'all are wearing, and it is just something that you need to consider because there's missed revenue in the business that's happening on a daily basis or maybe a weekly basis where someone was trying to see if they wanted to hire you, but they maybe never contacted you because they dropped off and went somewhere else. So this has to do with kind of the friends and network path. It still works the same exact way. It just starts at a different point. So you're connecting with your network, you're sending, direct messages to a couple of friends or people that are local to the area and ask who they've used in the past. Again, they receive that information, any sort of pros and cons, of the service provider. And then again, they're going to check and verify online. I gave an example down here, and I'm not picking on this company. It sounds like a generic name, so I'm hoping they're not on the call. But you can see here, I mean, there's a couple things going on. Number one is this is a complete AI image. That woman has a very large thumb, like abnormally large.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually how professional house cleaners don't usually use those yellow gloves neither. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes, but just not all the entire time.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a couple things going on, but as you can see, we're in what, November? The last post was in April, right? Like this
Yeah.
just doesn't send a good signal, and it's the very last post, right? And so unfortunately, if I'm looking at this, I'm out. Like I'm out as a homeowner, and
Same.
it might not be right, but it is what it is. It's the reality of how people make decisions. And again, going back to, it requires a lot of trust for you to come in my house, and it is what it is. And then ultimately the outcome, based on the friend and network path, is, do I trust this person or do I not trust this person? And unfortunately, if I don't trust the person, then I'm going to probably reject the opportunity to contact them. And, I might move on to the next person. So some of the things I kind of put a summary page here together is some of the positive things versus the negative things that people are looking for. Positive things are recent posts, people replying with comments, right? Showing you're a real business. Having service photos, before and after pictures really work well for engagement and examples of your work. Showing clear contact information. That sounds really, really silly and pretty obvious. I have visited hundreds of cleaning company profiles. Yeah, sometimes there's a little bit of difficulty finding a phone number, right? Or finding an easy way to contact you, right? So make sure that's extra clear. I would recommend shooting out again that, like an example, this person put theirs as an actual profile, right? So it's not a business. And the problem with that is I can't send a message or book something or do something. My call to action for this business is what? To add them as a friend, right? So again, even if they had recent posts, even if there were boxes to check, thankfully they have a phone number here, which is great, but they should also have a message button up top. So just make sure, as a Facebook business owner, you guys have this on your admin page. Make sure the message button is open. Some of the negative signals obviously are kind of inverted from the positive ones. So you haven't made a post in many months. You've maybe have unanswered messages, right? So you kind of just let them die in the inbox. Or you have outdated offers, right? It's like 4th of July special. Well, it's November 11th, right? So don't do that. Other areas for active page interpretation would be making sure that the business is operational. Are they calling the phone number and it works, right? Did you have a recent phone number change or any sort of changes in the business? Make sure you're updating all the areas online across the board. I know that Facebook used to have this metric. I don't know if they do it anymore, but they used to show the response time. Kevin, do you still see that where, like, on your business it takes, this person 5 minutes or 2 hours or 3
That's a
days to
good
respond?
question. I haven't noticed that. Yeah, I haven't messaged a business on Facebook in a while.
Yeah. So they do have metrics around that. So keep that in mind. I'll also go over Google Path in a minute. Google has something around the metrics of replying back to reviews, which I'll go over. And then that's also timed, right? Of like how long it takes the business owner to reply back to a review. And you either get promoted or demoted based on how fast you respond to people. And then obviously current information is available. And then obviously the inactive page risks, things are slow. There's not a response. It feels like the business might be closing or the information is likely outdated. right? So I've privately messaged a couple businesses, not in the cleaning space, but other businesses for other reasons. And it turns out they were still in business, but looking at the page, I would have swore they were out of business. You know, luckily Google has like a permanently closed like flag that they could put next to a business, and you know for sure that the business is closed. Facebook doesn't have that. So some people just kind of make their own assumptions when it comes to where you're at within your business. So before I jump into the Google path, any questions or feedback on the Facebook area? You know, obviously Facebook is a very large channel for the business, so I just want to make sure if anybody has any questions, we get them answered for you all. Go ahead, Leona. I see your hand raised.
How often do we change pictures on our profile?
Good question. Profile's not as important. I would say that the profile should be mostly for your logo, right? So you should, you know, have that there. It doesn't play into the algorithm of Facebook for the actual profile image. What I will say is the cover shot that's above it. So let me just zoom out for a second. I would change this periodically. I would say every, you know, maybe every month. This is a great piece of real estate for promotion, right? So if you're running, let's say, any sort of Black Friday special or Thanksgiving or, you know, end of year or Christmas or holiday specials, this is a really great place to put something, right? Because it's the first thing that kind of hits the person when they land on the page, and it's very large. So I would say the cover shot I would change more frequently. I would actually leave the profile alone. You know, maybe if you want to highlight customer or the employees, like, you know, employee highlights and stuff like that, if you want to use it for like team pictures, just to show kind of a broader thing of the team, I think that that works as well. But where you really want to have a lot of frequency is the actual like posts themselves. You want to post at least at a very minimum, you should be posting 3 to 4 times a week. If you're not posting that much, you know, you should be posting that much, because if not, if you're posting once a week or once a month, you know, your business is going to really drop when it comes to organic reach, right? And how Facebook basically pushes it out to others. So you need to be very careful not to go below a certain threshold. And preferably you should actually be posting 5 to 6 times a week. But obviously creating content is really hard, and also you got to remember to do it, right? Which we all forget. But yeah, that's a good question as far as the profiles. Go ahead.
That didn't quite answer my question. What I was referencing to was the before and after pictures that are posted on our page. How often should we remove them or update them? That's what I was referenced to.
Okay, so before and after pictures. Oh, you were raising your hand again.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was the end of the question.
Okay, no problem. So before and after pictures. First, I would say that you would want to keep them, right? Like keep them on there, because ultimately when you go to a business page, there's a section called photos, and it has all your before and after pictures, right? So I would never delete them, because if you delete them, then you delete the engagement and, you know, all the benefits you would get from it. As far as frequency of posting before and after pictures, is that more of the question too? Like how often should you post before and after pictures?
Right. You can include that as well.
I would include that in your 3 or 4 a week that you're doing. Yeah. So one of the easiest ways I've seen people do it is they, you know, most people are taking the picture from their phone, right? So they have their phone and they're using something like Google Drive, and they're just dropping and uploading the photos into Google Drive and then waiting till later, right? So then, you know, create a template or something like that where they can upload it later. I'll show you a little bit later on. There's a way that we can automate before and after pictures, that we're actually coming out with that in a couple weeks. There's a generator for that. But I would say, yeah, I would say half of your posts should probably be before and after pictures. right? So some of the other types of posts you want to post on social media are educational posts. These are things like how-to guides, tips and tricks, things like that. You want to post general kind of educational posts, and team posts, of your team, or highlighting, company areas of your business. You also want to obviously have reviews, right? So customer testimonial posts are big ones. If you could ever get a video testimonial with customers, that's huge. You'll get great engagement from that. You just need to be careful because you want to get consent for that from the customer. What else? And then obviously you want to promote certain services, right? So maybe you want to have a service-based post. So you're doing deep cleans or move in or move out or post-construction. You would do posts dedicated to those specific services to draw awareness that you offer them, and then also people can book directly for that service. Any other questions on the Facebook side? Or we jump into good old Google? All good. So, as a homeowner, right, I'm searching certain keywords. The most popular one is going to be house cleaning near me. Just if you do a quick search for search volume, that's the highest one. Or house cleaning companies, in my city, right? I'll put Lexington, South Carolina is where I live. And ultimately, that's going to show up on what they call the SERP page, SERP, search engine result page, which includes Google Maps. And so me as a homeowner, I'm going to start scanning the top results. As you all know, being number one or number two very much helps when it comes to driving traffic. Excuse me. And we'll talk a little bit about best practices on the next slide of, how you can start to rank higher in that. And ultimately, I do some research on the business. I open up the business profile. I'm looking at what? I'm looking at the reviews. How many reviews do you have, right? So the quantity of reviews does matter. The recency of the reviews, right? Are they kind of recent, in the last couple weeks, or is this, again, the Christmas tree post, even though we're in November, is it something from 2 years ago? Again, not great. And then a lot of people don't do this last one, is photos. Many people don't realize this, but Google's, they keep changing the name. It used to be Google My Business. Now it's Google Business Profile. That originally started off as a social media platform called Google Plus back in the early 2000s. So Facebook was really growing quickly, and Google wanted to come in and compete with Facebook. And so they built a platform called Google Plus. I'm dating myself a little bit, but it's back, 20 plus years ago. And that product failed. It didn't work very well. Didn't get a lot of traction. It did get millions of users, which sounds great, but comparison to what Facebook is, it was just, a drop in the bucket. So Google wanted to repurpose this product for another reason. And so they created something called Google Places, if you remember what that was. And these were things like restaurants and home service companies and all these other businesses that were like hyper local to each other. And so they kind of morphed Google Plus into Google Places, which eventually became Google My Business and now Google Business Profile. And so there's a lot of capabilities, and why I mentioned this story is they have a lot of social media elements to Google Business Profile that a lot of people are not aware of. Mm-hmm. And one of which is you can actually post inside of Google My Business. You can create a post. The post can have likes. The post can have comments, because it has all the social media elements that Google Plus had back when. Now, Google rewards you for using those tools, right? So my recommendation as a business owner of a local business is I would also regularly post to Google My Business or Google Business Profile with, pictures of jobs and things like that, because that will actually help you rank higher on Google, right? So just a little bit of a golden nugget there that a lot of people are not paying attention to, and maybe your competition isn't paying attention to it, so they won't rank as high as you. make sure to create posts for Google, not just for social media accounts. And then ultimately, when you get down to the bottom of it, is people come to a decision point and who they're going to select, when it comes to the short list. And a lot of this is based on how far they are, and some of the social proof elements like reviews. Quick question, actually, before I move on to the next part. On your Google profile, do you have the ability to not only call but also message you directly turned on?
Yes.
Anybody else?
I'm not sure.
So if you're not sure, what I would do is after this call, and anybody that's on the call, Google yourself, your business, right? And then that little profile slab that comes on the right-hand side of Google search that shows like your website and call or whatever. See if there's a message button there enabled. I would turn that on.
Yeah, you have to toggle it in the settings, I think, Dan.
Yep.
If I remember right. It's been a while.
Yeah, you have to turn it on. It's not on by default. But again, that's another conversion tactic that if you're not leveraging, I would definitely use it. And it's a free thing to turn on. So kind of rehashing a couple things for Google reviews. Recent reviews are critical, right, to signal to the homeowner that this is an active business, they're actively involved, and it's credible, right? So that builds their confidence up. Showing detailed feedback, right? So like people that just put like amazing job, 5 stars, doesn't really help, right? A lot of people get pretty sophisticated with the reviews and getting into like layers of detail. People are actually paying attention to those. Seeing how you respond as an owner is crucial. Are you responding professionally? Are you responding kind of generically? Are you responding at all? Right? If you're not responding at all, that's not great for 2 reasons. As a homeowner, I'm used to seeing the owners of other businesses respond. So it seems like this person's not as paying attention to detail when it comes to their customers and supporting them. In addition to that, Google on the back end is rewarding owners who typically, and the last metric I heard was 7 days. If somebody posts a new review on Google, Google likes you to respond within 7 days of that post. So just kind of write that one down as a note to say reply back within less than a week, and you get kind of that boost and that promotion from Google. Sparse reviews, showing that they're outdated, kind of really creating uncertainty for users or for people that are looking at that. And then obviously visual evidence of the work. Let's say, for instance, they didn't find you on Facebook, right? They didn't hear about you through the local groups or communities. They're Google only. Well, they don't know what your work looks like. What if you don't have a website, right? You don't have before and after pictures on your website. Well, you have to have some evidence of something, right, showing the quality of your work. And so at the very least, you want to have pictures up of that. So cross-referencing across both of these, right? Because sometimes people go from Google to Facebook, Facebook to Google, right? You would think it's overkill. People have a lot of time on their hands today, I guess. So some people are looking at your Facebook activity. Okay, great. It's an active business, but the reviews are not great, right? Or they go to check the website and things are outdated. They're seeing, if they call, you're going to respond very quickly, right? These are all things that they're signaling that, okay, good, these are pluses, right? Obviously, if they're not seeing any social media activity, things on the website that are broken, or, maybe some of the content's like placeholder content that's been there for months. Phone doesn't ring, phone rings, but nobody answers. These are all negatives that can go against you. And unfortunately, in the day and age of people wanting instant gratification, they might bypass you and go to the next person. So again, that's a missed opportunity, right, when it comes to getting a booking. Some of the areas with the recent online activities across multiple platforms, I, on a personal level, based on working with a lot of cleaning businesses, I would say that Facebook is a must. Instagram is also a really great tool as well. Nextdoor, if y'all are not on Nextdoor, I would definitely go on there as well, because people look for a lot of recommendations on Nextdoor. Obviously, you need to have a really good business profile. I'm a little bit biased, but I would say you need to have a website. I know that a very large percentage of cleaning business owners don't have websites in the beginning. I can tell you that is killing your business in the beginning. Even a simple Wix landing page, something small, is better than nothing. It is critical for you to have some level of an online presence, because the person who is looking at this and evaluating on hiring you, they're not seeing that you're not getting the phone call, right? So having something is better than nothing, which gets to the next part, which is the research and signaling. So after they've kind of shortlisted a couple people, they've gotten recommendations from Facebook, they maybe looked on Google, maybe they've gotten some recommendations from friends and family. They've kind of shortlisted, a handful of people that they're thinking about hiring. Well, now they're going to start contacting, right? They're calling you, they're sending messages on Facebook, things like that. Speed is huge here, right? The first person to answer back is likely significantly higher to win the job. Even regarding pricing and availability, the ability to respond back to somebody very quickly in a timely fashion shows that you're very professional. On top of that, you're an active business. It's really, really critical that you get back to people very quickly. I've had a lot of, I had to have a fence done in my backyard a while back, and then I've had a couple landscaping projects. I had my HVAC, unfortunately, go not too long ago, and trying to find people to come out to give quotes on things, and it was almost like chasing people down. And as a person who I had the money to pay for the job and do everything, there wasn't a lot of constraints on my side. It was very frustrating, right, to sit there and have to contact people multiple times to try to get a quote. Most people are not going to do that, right? They're just going to give up and move on and give it to somebody else. And then ultimately, once they've met with you, or they've spoken to you, they've now gotten into this final part here where they're kind of evaluating and comparing, right? So obviously you want to make sure you're professional, you're answering quickly, have good availability. So a lot of people, when they contact service providers, typically it's not something that they want in like 2 months, right? They want something tomorrow or this weekend or something pretty quick. So availability is very important. And then making sure you're obviously competing in a marketplace, right? So you have to make sure you're competitive, but as a business owner, you also want to make sure that you're making enough margin and you're running a profitable business. Otherwise, what's the point? The last part here is just kind of going over, the decisions, right? Like how they're evaluating them. Obviously, I'll go over this pretty quickly because some of it's a little bit of, summary of what we've gone over. There's trust, when it comes to signaling to me as a homeowner. You've checked a couple of those boxes for me. The price makes sense. You're available. You're very responsive. It makes sense. Let's say if I have, pets and things like that, it makes sense, and we're all aligned there. A fallback plan would be, let's say I'm just, I'm not going to do this because I just didn't like what I saw online, or there's just a mismatch in expectations on the service front, or I need to start all over again, right? I need to revisit the whole process. Believe it or not, there are people that do that. There is such thing as over research, by the way, just to be very clear. Some people will research into oblivion, and unfortunately, they may never hire anybody. And quite honestly, I don't think anybody on this call would want to have that person as a customer, because they would probably drive you crazy. As far as the decisions go, ultimately choosing the service provider, scheduling this cleaning service, and then confirming the booking details is super key. One of the things I'll throw out to the call real quick, and this has been kind of like an interesting kind of feedback point. A lot of people do not like to do instant quotes on their websites for a number of reasons. Kevin and I have talked at length about this, but I'm kind of curious on what's everybody's take on this. Would you rather do a walkthrough and then give a quote and kind of understand the scope, or is it more of a volume play where you're actually willing and able to give people instant quotes without doing a walkthrough? I'm kind of curious on weighing that out.
I'd rather do the walkthrough. That way it gives me an opportunity to meet the customer, and likewise, they also get a chance to see your personality, understand your expertise. So, yeah, I don't have quotes or pricing on my website because it can vary.
Yep. Yep, we always do a walkthrough. Yeah, and I see the value of the consultation and doing the walkthrough a lot. I think sometimes providing the price up front could turn people, they can make a decision right there without even meeting you, right? And I think a lot of the times, having that trust, with people and seeing people face to face is great. And those people are much more inclined to refer you to other people, right? Because you've now built kind of rapport with them and trust with them. So I do think going down that path, but I do know a couple cleaning companies that do, instant quoting and things like that. I just think maybe it's, I don't know whether it is they have a ton of volume and they're willing to take the chance of people not converting. I don't know, Kevin, what your thoughts are on people that do the instant book.
Yeah, well, I know it does work for some people, and I think that volume has a lot to do with it. Real quick on instant quotes. I mean, we tried instant quotes. I mean, it just sounds like it would make sense, right? But here's the thing, is that what I found is by at least doing a virtual walkthrough, the owner or the manager has the opportunity to put their eyes and their ears on the customer. If we're in their home, we can take a peek around. We can say, do I feel safe sending my crew to this home? Do I feel safe having my crew come in here every week and working for this person or this family? And then also another big problem with instant quotes is that, see, everybody thinks it's going to take you 2 hours to clean their entire house, when actually it's 12 hours worth of cleaning to clean their entire house. And so when they're on your website trying to get an instant quote and they go, it's only going to take 2 hours to clean my house. And so they get a quote for it. And then you come out there and it's just, the expectation is unrealistic. And so that is also another problem with expectations, which is, people think that you can do a miracle in an hour, and we do work a lot faster. We're just more thorough and we're professional. So it takes a lot longer than the average homeowner understands cleaning takes.
Makes total sense. Yeah, and I think more broadly, I think that's the majority of the market. I just always wondered, like for us in home services, we've worked with a lot of different, landscaping and HVAC and plumbing. There's a little bit of a formula you can do for certain industries, right? Like roofing is a great example of that. As long as let's say, how many squares of the roof and the pitch of the roof, and you understand some of the parameters around, like how much waste would be involved, you can kind of quote people pretty quickly. So there's a little bit more of a formula that's kind of a proven formula on that basis.
Yeah, it's more straightforward. Like even landscaping, right? Like if you're cutting grass, if you're mowing grass, it's the same thing every time. But see, in people's homes, everybody lives differently. Some people have like a million trinkets in every room. And so to clean a living room for somebody might take 15 minutes, Leona, right? But for this guy over here, this gal, it takes 2 hours just to clean one room because there's so much dust on so many different things. And people don't think about that. They go, hey, it's not going to take very long, and it's going to take a long time. And so house cleaning is much different than like plumbing, electrical, landscape, roofing, because all those other industries, it just is what it is. It's a roof. You know what I'm saying? The square footage or whatever, how much your expenses are going to cost, how long it's going to take you. You just keep doing the same thing, but every single home is different. Some homes have 10 dogs, some homes have 10 kids, some homes have, a lot of furniture, and some homes don't. So there's so many different variables. It's just so complicated for, someone to come on there and accurately quote a home just off of an instant quote or a website or so. I wish there was a way. I've been trying to think on it for many years now, how we could kind of figure out a way how to do that, because it would save a lot of time, right, and gas. But yeah, so far, that's in my experience anyway.
No, that's great. I was laughing to myself when Leona was laughing about the person with the trinkets. A lot of, because I can, you're probably visualizing that person's house right now.
Oh yeah, for sure. Plates all over the wall. Yep.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a lot. So as far as the pain points, and kind of where the journey breaks, this is, getting towards the end here. Ultimately for the homeowner, it's not just social presence, but I'll call it online presence, right? So if you have an inactive online presence, it's killing your business without you even knowing it. And again, it's a missed revenue opportunity for you as a cleaning business owner, because you have to look at it from the lens of the person who's buying your services, right? So this is their process and kind of how their mindset works, and why you're potentially losing to a competitor who might have more of an active presence online. Outdated reviews or not having enough of them. We actually have a really cool thing called Pixel cards. If anybody's interested in those, I can send a link to you all, or maybe we can pin it on the top of the group, Kevin.
Yeah.
I actually automated the process for Pixel cards now, so
Cool.
Everybody can kind of create them on their own. So yeah, it's basically the Pixel cards are like a one-click option that you could text customers after you do a job, and they can basically submit either a Google or a Facebook review automatically, and it's one click. Part of the reason why a lot of people don't give reviews is because they have to Google search your name and then go to your review section and then write a review. There's like multiple clicks to get to that part. What we have found, and whenever we've had customers use them, we had one customer literally get like 8 or 9 reviews in one day using the Pixel card. So it's just really easy.
And then the Pixel cards, those are free, right? Like, okay. Would you send me a message with that information after this, and I'll get it out with the replay.
Yep. We can send them out. And then communication breakdown, slow or no response to messages, or, calls are, not really answered, obviously turns away a lot of customers. So this is difficult, right? Like, especially if you're running as a solo cleaner or you only have a handful of people helping the business, trying to be there in real time is really tough. But it is critical if you're trying to grow the business and ultimately convert customers. Unfortunately, by the time you try to reach back out to that person, it's been 6 hours. They've likely contacted somebody else, right? So making sure you're communicating and making sure that you can get back to them in a timely fashion. And then inconsistent brand experience, conflicting information across platforms, and also, like, if I see things on Facebook that I don't like, and then I go to Google and I have to keep going down this rabbit hole of like, you were recommended to me, but I'm just finding things are off, right? Not only am I potentially not going to hire you because I'm seeing things that are inconsistent, but I'm also getting frustrated because I'm having to like waste my time to then find out that things are not up to what I thought they would be. Right. So just make it easy for people. Obviously posting does that, making sure you have a website, even if it's a simple landing page, making sure your Google business profile is up to date and optimized, making sure you get reviews, use the free Google or free Pixel card thing that I'll send out later. These are all things that you want to work on. One of the biggest challenges that we have found, and I'll introduce you to what we've been working on now for several months, is a sister company called Pixel. So you have Clean Pixel, which is the first AI tool for cleaning businesses. We're now introducing something called PostPixel, which specifically specializes in creating 30 days of content for you, right? So creating the actual designs, the captions, the hashtags, everything, specifically based on your business, right? And your logo and your color scheme and everything else. And it automatically schedules it for you. right? So it does all the work of social media basically for you. And it's a great solution. It addresses obviously the infrequent posting problem that we all have. A lot of us struggle, and I also struggle with this, is coming up with new ideas and new topics, right? So we even have a topic generator that you can select from to say, you know what, this is a great topic, this is a great topic, this is a great topic, and you can create 10 posts at a time. So it's not something that like Canva, where you go in and you have to do one post at a time and you're using a template and you do all the work. I would argue to say you started a cleaning business not to become a graphic designer. So why are you spending 20 plus hours in Canva, right? So this is supposed to be a solution to that problem. There's a hand up. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. So how does that integrate with the CRM?
So it depends on the CRM. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but we are talking with a couple of CRM companies about integrations as we speak. So depending on what CRM you're using, we might be integrating with them pretty soon. Yeah.
Okay.
What
So
CRM do you use?
Clean Genie.
Clean Genie. I've heard of Clean Genie. I actually think I know the founder of that company. That one we could talk about with Clean Genie. That's not one of the ones that we've spoken with. But I'll show you kind of quickly what it does. And you can get started for free, by the way. The first 25 posts are free. It doesn't require a credit card or anything like that. So you can genuinely go in and try it for free and see how you like it. You're not able to schedule for the free trial. That you have to go for the paid version of that. But how it all works is basically you give us your website and you give us your logo, and from there we create branded assets that look like this, right? So it looks like someone designed these in Canva, but AI actually built this, and it took seconds versus hours. And we even have built-in editor that's like Canva. Now this is very unique. Most AI today you can't edit. If you go to ChatGPT or you go to Canva's AI, you go to Adobe or one of the other players in the space, and you go to generate some sort of AI content, the color scheme's off, some of the wording, hallucinates and doesn't make a lot of sense. You can't edit that. You have to continue to keep prompting it, which sometimes goes further away from the goal instead of closer to what you want. We actually have built the first way to actually not only build using AI, but also allowing you to edit the AI. So you could swap the image, the colors, the typography, the wording, whatever it is, you can make changes to it. Go ahead. There's another hand up.
Sorry, never again. So with the prompts, you can be as detailed as you want, correct? Or are you putting the prompts in?
So that's the beautiful part. So I'll show you very, very quickly. This doesn't require any prompting at all in our system. So what we do is this is what we call the dashboard. We create, based on your website, parameters. Actually, I'll go with a different client. This is actually an interesting thing, and I'll show you this in a second, is it works beyond cleaning businesses. This works for all home services. It also works for a lot of small businesses too. It's agnostic. It doesn't just go for one industry. But as an example, our AI creates a description of this business, right? So the description, the voice, the core values, the industry, keywords, the niche, the audience, the objectives of the audience, and then their pain points. You can also edit any of this stuff too, right? So if you want to make changes to any of the wording, you can make changes to that. You've got the branding, right? It pulls the the primary and secondary color schemes from that. It's integrated with all of these platforms for scheduling. So if you want to schedule a post, you can schedule it to Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Google My Business in one click. Again, just looking at these, you can edit the captions, right? And the hashtags. There's a built-in editor to it. It has like a Canva-like editor. Once you have scheduled everything, it moves over to a queue, which is the scheduling queue. And then once it's been actually published, it'll go here. And for topics, I'll just go ahead and pretend like I'm going to create a post. And again, this is specific based on my business, right? And the details about my business. I can go ahead and create basically 10 topics, right? And you could see all the different categories: cleaning tips, testimonials, cleaning hacks, service showcase, building trust, before and after tips, right? So I select these, and then I can basically, I'm just going to do this real quick. And then if I want to create a custom topic, like today's Veterans Day, right? If I wanted to create a Veterans Day post, I can actually write my own topics, right? So I can customize it as well. And then I have access to a very large database of imagery, right? So I can use these all as background images. In addition to that, you can upload your own images to the system too, and use those as backgrounds in design. So, yep, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Just
No, you're fine.
real quick, when it comes to those pictures, is it possible to do some, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I just had a email come across that I read real quickly and threw me off with a train of thought. Is it possible to put in certain keywords to look up for rooms?
Yeah, great question. Yeah. So here's an example. I did a veterans post because we actually use this for our software too. We actually have, you can keyword search millions of keywords. So if you want to do a Christmas post, you've got Christmas background, you've got Thanksgiving, you can do all holidays.
Okay, all right then. I see that. Gosh, that's really interesting. I of course that's cleaning business. I gotta boogie out. I gotta go find it. I need to see. But this was very interesting, and I was really digging it. So best to everyone, and have a great day. And if there's a way I can contact you, that'll be great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If you want to just drop your email inside of here, just so I make sure I have it. Actually, you know what? We're going to send out, if you signed up for this, we'll be able to send everything out over Kevin's email. So
I did sign up for it, so we're good. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Well, have a good rest of your day.
Have a blessed day.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Bye.
And so, yeah, that's kind of it. I think, you know, if you're interested in doing a free trial with PostPixel to help automate the social media side of things, you know, feel free. I can book a demo with you and kind of walk you through everything. But with that being said, I just want to make sure to answer any questions when it comes to why your competitor ultimately might be chosen because of their online presence when it comes to social media and Google. What questions did you have, if any, or questions about PostPixel also?
I don't have a question, Dan, but I'd love to talk on a couple things for a few minutes in regards to well, everything that we're talking about here, which is just social presence is huge anymore these days, and you spoke on it several times, which is trust, referring to the perception gap. We're not selling cleaning or hours of cleaning, y'all. We're selling trust, is what we're selling.
Yep.
Homeowners by certainty, professionalism, and safety, not hours of cleaning. And here are two numbers I wanted to share with y'all. Write this down. This is according to Harvard Business Review. 88% of homeowners say trust is their number one reason for hiring a service professional home cleaning company. Sorry, y'all. My daughter's phone started ringing about chickens and bananas or something like that. I'm like, what's going on here? So, all right, so 88% trust, and then write this one down. 70% of homeowners decide who they're going to hire before they even meet you. That's insane. That 7 out of 10 people already know they're going to hire you before they even meet you or talk to you on the phone. And this comes down to what they're seeing on your Google business profile.
Yep.
What they're seeing on your Facebook. Are you active? What are your Facebook and your Google posts, or what does your website say? If they don't trust what they see, they'll never be able to test what you can do. And so they'll never even see the impact that you can make on their life with the services that you provide. If they can't find you, if they can't see you, and if they don't trust you. You could be the best cleaner in town, but if your first impression ain't rock solid, you'll never get a chance to prove it. And so what can we do to increase as cleaning company owners? What can we do to help out the perception gap, to increase trust? One of the big things is now that the millennials and Gen Z are kind of stepping up and hiring home service providers more now, is they're looking for a few different things. They're looking for certifications and industry certifications. They're looking for green cleaning. Does this service provider, are they going to keep my safety and my pet safety, my kids' safety in mind with the chemicals or the poisons that they're going to be bringing into my house? All those things, instant credibility. Another thing that you can do is join your local chamber of commerce. It instantly builds the community trust. And here's a tip for you: reviews. Dan was talking about reviews. There's some reviews that just way more than others. And what I'd recommend you do is find someone that's prominent in your local community, someone that most everybody knows. Think about, the mayor, city council people, the sheriff, police chief, fire chief, principals of schools, and ask them and say, hey, I own a professional cleaning company. I'd love to do a free house cleaning or your business cleaning in exchange for review. And then when you could promote in your PostPixel post, your website, your socials, and you can say, hey, sheriff, here's a review from the local police chief. Here's a review from Principal Pollitt. Here's what I'm saying? And so get reviews from people that people know and trust in the local community. Uniforms and marked vehicles, accountability in person on wheels. People, they look at your vehicle when you're parked at their neighbor's house, or even when you're traveling on the freeway. Do you mark your vehicles? That says a lot to a homeowner. It says that that you're not afraid to put your brand out there in the public. Is your team gonna be more professional while they drive? And if their vehicle's marked, absolutely. And then lastly, professional service proposals. There's still companies out there that are sending text messages and emails saying, hey, this is going to be your price to clean your home. But a professional service agreement is going to set you apart from all of your competitors. So 70% of people decide before they even meet you, from your website, from your Facebook, from your Google profile, from your uniforms, from your vehicle branding, all that stuff. But your digital footprint now is more important than ever before. And there's one other thing that I wanted to touch on. Dan brought up some good points about it, is the speed to trust. In today's day and age, the fastest reply wins. And and here's a number. Write this one down. 78% of homeowners hire the first reply that they clearly see that screams with professionalism and trust. And so responding within 5 minutes to every lead increases your close rate by more than 9 times higher. And so millennials, Gen Z, they're expecting the same. If they're going to pay your rates, if they're going to pay $60, $50, $60, $70 an hour or more sometimes, they're going to expect the same level of service than they do from a big corporation or any businesses in their area, which means that they're going to expect that you are present digitally and that you are using AI and different forms of communication processes to serve them. And so it's really important today and moving into the future that we stay abreast with AI. We're available on every platform, and we have systems in place with automation that when somebody messages you on your Google, we were talking about this earlier, someone messages you on Google, let's say you're cleaning a house, it takes you 4 hours, you get back to your vehicle, you look, you got a message 4 hours ago. Well, chances are we already know that you probably already lost that lead. Well, there's a chance that you did. And so setting up automatic replies to all the different channels of communication are going to be more important than ever before.
Well said. Yeah, trust. Trust is the word.
Big time.
Yep. Any questions or any other areas? Going once? Well, this was awesome. I really appreciate everyone's time. Obviously, some of y'all that are going to be watching this later on, you're in the field and everything else. So I hope you all have a great rest of your day. And, I'm sure Kevin and I will be getting together again, going over a couple different educational areas. We'll have to think of some of the next topics we go over, but online presence is a very big thing. Make sure that your online presence is in order because people are checking it. People are building trust before they contact you. And it is perception over reality. So your quality of work might be great. It might be great, but the online presence part might not be. So you have to elevate that. All right. Well, that's it, everybody. It was great seeing you. I hope you have a good day and take care.
See y'all.
Thank you.